Okay, team, let's look at value sources. We kind of talked about values in general. What a values, good value statements, what are the attributes they have in common, what defines values. Now before we begin to work, let's just look at there's really 6 sources that we can get potential values from. And again, not the final refined named values, that comes down the process, but we're just saying at a conceptual level, what are the themes, what are the ideas, what are those core concepts that would help us and be potential values. And the first source is to survey. Honestly, you send a survey out to your volunteer leadership team. Everybody should have some sort of email or text communication with their entire team. Some sort of, hey, listen, text me back what you see is the 2 or 3 biggest values of our church. We could survey our leaders and find out very quickly what they see as important to us as a church. Hey, listen, what do you see is one of the biggest reasons we make decisions when we make decisions? Just ask those open-ended questions, ask them for feedback. You can survey your leaders in a formal or informal way and just say, hey, listen, what are our values? Number 2, the second source, and we're going to do an exercise of this, is we call Joe Grow. We're going to introduce Joe Grow to your church. We're going to say, hey, listen, when Joe Grow, kind of this average person, I like to always look across the street from your church or look across the highway or look out back behind the parking lot, whichever place the houses are most close, and say, there's probably one of those homes where there's a group of people or a family, they don't attend church anywhere, and they're going to come to your church this Sunday. We'll call them Joe Grow and family. What would they say you value? What would they say you value the most? I remember my daughter was a part of a team that met in a church. It was a club team, but they kind of had a party at the church to kind of celebrate their season. We walked in the door and there was kind of faded, ripped, torn orange carpet, right? And so the first thing I saw when I walked in the door to this church's sanctuary was orange, that kind of burnt orange carpet that had some rips, tears, definitely some stains, Christmas Eve, candle wax dripping, resonant, remnants everywhere. And I was like, okay, they don't value updating their carpet. Here's the only challenge. All around this, they were building $400,000 and $500,000 homes. Brand new, right? So right across the street, this church that's been there for probably 30 or 40 years, maybe even more. Same carpet from when they first built the church, right next to these brand new homes. Right? One of those families comes across the street to visit that church. What are they going to immediately see and sense first? Okay, this church is stuck in time, right? So you can ask Joe Grow, hey, what does Joe feel? You don't have to ask anybody to do that. You can just kind of maybe take a walk around your church and make some notes. If you were new, if you were seeing this for the first time, what would you say we value as a church based on what you can observe, especially even in Sunday morning and how we do some things? So we have a leadership survey. We can ask Joe Grow. We can imagine. We can think about. We can just kind of extrapolate what someone who's new might say. We also have best of stories. So the third source might be to go to some of those best of stories. Now, in our kingdom concept work, we call that our signature story, right? So we could come back to one or more of those stories and say, hey, what were the values present? Let's name convictions that guided decisions in that story. So we come back to that one person and go, okay, listen, or that one moment and go, yeah, this is the value that was present. We can extract that. Now, listen, we don't have to refine it. It doesn't have to be perfect, but we can just see it. We can observe it in our best of stories. Now, you're going to get a handout in this session that has a list of common church values, right? There's a list of common church values. Not that we would say those are finalized or they're going to be named in that way, but we'd say, hey, listen, there's values on it. Like all the time, when confronted with that list, the word prayer. Oh yeah, prayer is a value. Yeah, we pray. Like that's rather than prayer is a value, we pray first. We had a church that said, hey, we pray first. Boom, that's a value. right? That emerges out there and starts to guide decisions and shape culture. So that list may help, when we get to that handout, may help bring up, oh yeah, this one is present. Now, it may not make the travel team, may not get to that short list of 4 to 6, because listen, prayer is going to be present in some form everywhere, but does it rise to the occasion of that formalized top line value in that? Next source, come back to our kingdom concept. Team, come back to those 3 circles, come back to especially that apostolic esprit, that unique passion. Those are pretty much almost going to be word for word values there in the work you've done. You could also go to collective potential. Are there any values that are present in what we see, the resources and capabilities our people have? Or maybe to a lesser degree, because it's outside the walls of the church, local predicament. Like, are there some values that are in our community that kind of help shape our convictions as a church? Less so there, but certainly go back to that apostolic esprit list and say, hey, listen, are there values there we can see? Or what values are present that we can see there? And listen, in many cases, there are previous values in your church. Maybe you've had a list of values. Maybe they've not been formalized. Maybe they've never been printed out off the pastor's hard drive, but they exist, right? Maybe they're on a website, but no, I love it. And, I've had churches say, oh no, we have values. I'm like, okay, what are they? Well, if you can't name the values at the leadership table you're sitting at, then you don't have values, right? But listen, they may be written somewhere on a wall, on a website, maybe they're on a Word document or something like that. Those previous values, we can look at those values and kind of bring those out and go, okay, well, there are some things here, there's some ideas, there are some concepts there that can help shape what we do. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to look at all 6 of these sources over the next few minutes in this session. We're going to just start to build lists, top 3 to 5 in each one of these areas. Top 3 to 5 in each one of these. Now, they may not all have 5, but certainly they at least have 3. And I wouldn't worry about repeating. In fact, if you have some values and in some form or fashion are repeated in multiple ones of these, then I might say, well, man, when we start to look at that final list of 4 to 6 concepts and we see it here, we see it here, we see it here, we see it here, guess what? That's going to be one of those that makes the travel. That's going to be one of those concepts. Now listen, team, we're going to look at how to name values, but I don't want you to feel burdened with the naming, making them cute, making them rhyme, making them form together. I just want you to right now, when we think about the sources, get to that conceptual level and peel the onion. Don't just say we value the Bible. What is it that we value about the Bible? What do we believe about the Bible that's a convictional level that causes us to make decisions in that way? So those are the sources of values. And from here, we're gonna look at small exercises, some in groups, some in a large group, to really think through what might inform our values.